Good morning, everybody. We've got a mixed trade in the grain markets here early on Wednesday morning. It is 6:07 a.m. Central Time as I speak here. May corn futures down 4.5 cents at 7.21 3/4 last trade. December corn down 11 at 6.13 3/4. May soybeans down 17 1/4 at 16.72 3/4. November soybeans down 6 at 14.71. May Chicago wheat up 50 cents at 10.34. May Kansas City wheat up 50 1/4 at 10.53 1/4. May spring wheat up just 3/4 cent at 10.54 1/2. If you guys are listening on the podcast, as always, I appreciate it. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, like the channel. My goal is to get to 5,000 subscribers. We eclipsed 4,000 last week, so I think we can do it this year. If you need some additional assistance from me, guys, go to my website. It is www.standardgrain.com. Go to that website, click on Grain Marketing Plan. Check out my subscription service. It's $49.99 a month. You should check it out. I'll send you my morning email, my text message updates, my subscriber-only videos, a ton of information direct from me every single day of the week. There's a new video every day, new newsletter every day, all sorts of content. I did a subscriber-only video yesterday regarding Ukraine, their crop cycle, why all of this stuff matters so much to the corn and wheat markets in particular. So if you guys are interested in that sort of content, I cover everything from grain marketing to things along these lines, outside markets, all sorts of different stuff that applies to you directly. Give this deal a shot. Wheat futures traded fresh 14-year highs overnight. Both the SRW and HRW winter wheat contracts posted their best levels since 2008 amid the ongoing Russia invasion of Ukraine. The most heavily traded May 22 SRW contract was limit up at one point last night, topping at 10.59 a bushel. The May 22 HRW wheat contract was limit up at 10.78 at one point last night. Spring wheat futures were sharply higher. They're mixed as I speak here. Limits in HRW and SRW contracts expanded to 75 cents today. Corn and soybean limits remain normal at 35 cents for corn and 90 cents for beans, respectively. There's no limits in these nearby March contracts. They are in delivery. So you've got an absolute rocket ship of a wheat market here into some fresh highs. I mean, there's really only been one instance back in what would have been 2008, I believe, where wheat was higher than this for any sustained period of time. And it didn't last very long. It lasted just a couple of months. We were up into that, $10 to $14 neighborhood. But this is very, very rare territory for the wheat market. Speaking of other markets in rare territory, WTI crude oil futures topped $111 per barrel overnight. This comes despite the release of 60 million barrels of oil reserves from the International Energy Agency. This release represents about 4% of the stockpile held by IEA members. This includes 30 million barrels of oil from the U.S. The U.S. alone uses over 18 million barrels per day, so the release is simply not enough to offset the issues in Russia. Global buyers of crude oil, when it comes to Russia, they're pretty much hands off. They're afraid of sanctions. They're afraid of exactly the details. They're afraid of logistics issues. So it's hands off Russian oil and a big rally here in the global oil market as a result. Last night's peak in the spot WTI contract, 111.50 in the April contract. That's the highest for any spot contract since July of 2013. The national average gas price, $3.66 per gallon this morning, according to AAA. We may be at $4 by next week. So at what point do gas prices hurt the economy? At what point do we see reduced gasoline usage? And at what point does that result in reduced corn demand via the ethanol industry? These are all questions that we do not know the answer to, but those items are coming at some point if these gasoline prices continue to surge higher. Russia says it's taken control of its first sizable Ukrainian city, the city of Kherson. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. That's a city in the south near the Crimean Peninsula. Logistics issues have stalled Russia's advance on Kiev, according to U.S. officials. President Biden closed U.S. airspace to Russian planes and continues to target Russian oligarchs. Despite a really strong resistance from Ukraine, Russia simply has a much larger military. This is going to continue to be an uphill battle for Ukraine, and it's probably not going to end well. Biden said in his State of the Union address last night that the U.S. would protect every inch of NATO territory, but reiterated that the U.S. does not want a war war with Russia, and that is the correct stance from the U.S., in my opinion. We want no conflict with Russia. You do not want the two largest nuclear superpowers at odds with each other. That is not what anybody wants. This whole situation is unfortunate, but I don't know that the U.S. going to war with Russia is the correct action. So I think the president has it right in this instance, certainly. Brazil's second corn crop will see continued rains. The GFS looks pretty wet during the next week, while the first and smaller corn crops sustain some really big losses as a result of drought in the south. I think the second corn crop could still be pretty good, and some of these southern areas for second corn may be a little bit drier. This area down here was your big drought area. In the far south, that's not real big for second corn, but a lot of these central and northern areas are going to be pretty wet. I think Ag Rural said 66% of the crop was planted through last Thursday, so certainly some potential there. U.S. exporters sold more new crop U.S. soybeans to China yesterday, 264,000. This is becoming a trend here. New crop soybean sales on the export market, traders or buyers taking advantage of cheaper new crop prices, and this, I think, has a lot to do with a much lighter crop in South America, of course. The cattle market was lower yesterday, marginally lower in live cattle, steeper losses in the feeder cattle market. There was just some catch-up cash activity in the north, 140 to 142. In the outside markets, the U.S. dollar is higher. Stock market's higher. The S&P's up 33 points. The Dow's up 250. Bonds are down. Gold's down $13. Crude oil up $5.87 at 109.28 last trade in the April WTI. Everybody have a great day today. I will talk to you same time tomorrow.